recently, and it's one of those thoughts where sometimes I realize it and I think like, well, yeah, obviously, like everybody probably knew that already. So maybe there's not that much insight here, but it was insightful for me, and I found it useful, so I thought I'd share it. I often think, and when I speak to people and they ask me, why are you making these videos? Why are you doing all this stuff you're doing around thinking about philosophy and psychology and trying to be a better person? And among, the answers, one of the most common ones I say, because it's true, is because my son was born. And when he was born, I started to realize the contradictions in the way I was living and the hypocrisies. And, particularly as he got of an age where you start literally teaching him lessons and trying to teach him, what type of person he should be and teach him the difference between right and wrong. I started to recognize that a lot of the things that I was telling him or wanted to tell him, I wasn't actually living by. And if you kind of follow that thread out, what I often say is, when I think about the ways in which I'm trying to improve or be better, it comes down to me wanting to be somebody my son could be proud of, and live a life and do the things that I think he would be proud of. And that's just how I always thought about it. And I was thinking about it yesterday, because there's always been a part of me that's thought, like, is that okay? Like, it feels right. It seems like a good thing, right? It sounds good on the surface, but you're still kind of tying your motivation and value system on somebody else. Because there's some people that would say, well, I want my mom to be proud of me, or I want my wife to be proud of me, or I want my boss to be proud of me, or I want whatever it is, right? There's somebody, society, to be proud of me. I want to be recognized. So it seemed to kind of overlap a lot with this idea of there's something external, there's some validation you need, there's some recognition you need. And for me, if I'm being totally honest, that rang true, right? I say it all the time, I'm a recovering people pleaser, and in some ways as a parent, that's like the epitome of that, right? Of all the people I want to please, of all the people I want to like me and to be proud of me, my child is at the top of that list, because that's important to me. Being a parent is important. So I was kind of grappling with that, trying to make sense of it and think about if that was even logical and if it was a good thing or a bad thing. And when I started to realize, though, which again, this is kind of the obvious point, is when I was doing those things, when I was teaching my son these things and then kind of following that thread, trying to become better myself because I want him to be proud, well, how would he determine if he was proud? What's the value system he's using to look at me and say, yeah, my dad's a good person, he does it right? Well, I'm the one teaching him that. I'm the one teaching him what he should value and what's important, and then wanting him to be proud of me in the same way. And it starts to feel a little strange, a little circular. Like I'm kind of stacking the deck, you almost might say, if you look at it at a certain angle, to say, I'm going to teach you what's good, and it's going to be the things that I think are good, and then therefore do, and then therefore you'll think I'm good. And that started getting my head spinning a little bit. And then I came to this conclusion, which again seems obvious, which was, it's not really about my son. Sure, he was like the triggering event that made me start down this path. But if you follow that logically, really, it was about me all along. It was my son was the impetus, right? He was the trigger that made me realize it. But I always kind of knew what I thought was right and wrong. I talk about being thoughtfully authentic and recognizing what really matters to us, doing the work to really understand what do we value, what do we want to be in life, what's our purpose. So for me, it just took my son for me to realize that. I knew the things I wanted to do. I had a sense of the things that I thought meant being a good person, the values I should focus on, the ways I should act, the ways I should think, all those things I had a sense of. I just had no reason, or at least didn't give myself a good enough reason to actually live in that way. But once my son was born, for whatever reason, I created this narrative and created this logical thread which said, well, I need to make him proud. But really it came back to me just making myself proud. Now listen, I do hope my son is proud of me. I hope a lot of people are proud of me. I hope I live a life that warrants that, but that can't be the goal. The goal has to be us figuring out what matters for us and then just living in accordance with it.